Hey guys, this is Fang here, back on another Division video, and today we're going to be going over another build guide for 1.8, and today it is going to be the Nomad build. Recently I posted a video doing with pretty much Predator's Mark, doing a build guide for Predator's Mark, because for most part, for me, Predator's Mark is the main build that people should be running for DPS or whatever, or solo, honestly, personally, for any aspect of the game. Except for if you're going to run that specific role like a healer build. Because if you're going to run a healer build, then you're going to be really supportive, and that's just your main role. But for the most part, if you're going to run it for the damage, the guy that's going to be sitting there soaking up bullets, any source of the thing, if it could be a tank build, it could be the damage dealer, whatever you want to prefer it to be, it is the main role you want to be using within the division. Now, for me, I had a really tricky time making a build guide in general, or tried to come up with ideas for Nomad, because there's so many ways you can build Nomad. Now, there is one particular way that I'm going to recommend you not to do it, and we're going to go ahead and get into that right now, just so I can show you my build, my particular build right now. If you guys can see at the top of the stats, we're looking at the three major stats, that is firearms, stamina, and electronics. You can see that there's two particular ways I am speccing into: firearms and stamina, and that is the main two ways you're going to build it. You're either going to build it in the main sense of you're going to build it more for stamina, or you're going to build it more for firearms, or a mixture of the two, right? That's the way you want to particularly focus it. You're never going to spec it into electronics. There's no reason to do that. There's so much survivability within the set that you don't need electronics for the additional healing capability you can get from your skills. Besides, you're losing a lot of other variety stuff that you really need for this build to make it actually half decent. And for me, electronics now at 1.8 is practically useless unless you're using it for a very niche build, and that's like either electronics builds. Even so, there's really only one electronics build I consider to be actually half decent now, and that is the Reclaimer build. I think Tactician is now completely useless in almost every aspect of the world for PvP in the division. There's just not enough damage dealt from skills to make it so it's effective within a PvP scenario, for me particularly, and it's just so easy now to spec into enemy art or exotic damage resilience that it really isn't necessary for you to do so. It's really not useful. So really, for the most part, there's only one electronics build out there, and that is the healer build, and you can use the healer build with you can use it with Final Measure, or you can use it with Reclaimer. There's really only two ways of going around it. For me, we're going to go ahead and go over Nomad now. We're not really going to talk about those. I might end up doing a Reclaimer build here in the future, just because for the most part when I run a team set scenario, I am kind of the guy that runs around with a healer build, and I would like to go over that here in a bit. But for the most part, Nomad to me is only kind of set for one role and one role alone, and that is the solo player. It's fine if you want to run in a team scenario. There's different ways to build it depending on what you want to roll it. But like I said, if you're going to run it as a solo build, if you're trying to run it as what it's meant for, I think that the main way you're going to be wanting to run it is firearms build with stamina. It's more so you're going to spec in more firearms than you're going to be running the stamina. Now for me, I had a really hard time on choosing where I really wanted to set it at. There's a lot of health rolls you can roll on your pieces of gear. You can roll health on your knee pads, you can roll health on your backpack, you can roll health on your chest plate, and of course on your holster. You have 4 extra places, plus you can run stamina on your mods, plus health on your mods as well. There's tons of places you can get additional survivability. For me, it makes me feel like I can actually spec more into firearms with this build, more so than I already have. You could roll firearms on your knee pads or on your chest plate. As you guys can see right now, I've got firearms roll on my mask, my gloves, and on my backpack, and of course I have firearms mods for each of my pieces of gear. But for the most part, my chest plate and my knee pads have stamina. Now, like I said, this build guide is going to be really kind of all over the place, but I hope that you guys can get the general idea of how you want to build it. You can personally come up with a way you want to build it on your own. I feel like if you spec more into stamina, the more so you spec into stamina, if your stamina ends up getting over your firearms amount, I feel like you're just trolling people at that point in time. You're not going to be useful in a PvP scenario as a team member, and you're not going to be very useful as a solo player. I just feel like the survivability you get at that point in time is just unreal, and it's really not necessary. I feel like you've got too much health, and you're just becoming a nuisance more than it's just more of a nuisance. You're kind of just being like that guy that's running around trying to sting people with a pea shooter, and you're just trying to baller people instead of actually trying to take it seriously and use it in a competitive setting. So for me, I don't feel like you need to spec as much into stamina as it is in firearms. You need to have that burst damage. There is no damage benefit you're getting from Nomad. We're going to go ahead and look at it real quick. You're getting health on kill from the 2 set, additional healing over time effect from the 3 set. The 4 set is giving you an extra life, and then the 5 set gives you more health on kill and it improves the healing over time effect that you get from the 3 set. And then the 6 set increases your survivability even more. So why do you need so much health? You don't need it. You need more damage. There's no damage rolls on this set. The set is not giving you any damage aspects at all, but it's giving you all the survivability you need. If you think about it, you really don't need stamina in the most part away. Like I said, there's kind of 3 ways you could build it. You could build it full stamina, full firearms, or a mixture of the 2. And if you're going to do a mixture of the 2, I say you spec more into firearms than you spec into stamina. There's just no need for it. There's just so much survivability you're getting from other pieces of gear. There's no reason to spec into stamina as a main stat. You don't really need it as much. So for me, if there was anything I was going to change about this particular build right off the bat that you guys are seeing, it's probably changing the stamina piece on my knee patch or my chest plate to being a firearms roll. But the thing with me is that I got the max amount of stamina on each of the pieces, and personally I just don't want to roll them off. You don't really have to. You don't have to be as niche as I am. You can roll firearms here. I feel like it'd be more beneficial because, like I said, there's more ways to get health on your gears and making it so you're way more tanky. I feel like 460k toughness on this build is way overboard. I think around 430k toughness is really good. And I'm going to go ahead and explain one reason why. If you guys look at my health bar right now on the bottom, you guys can see that I have a overheal. I'm pretty much sitting here with additional health. Like, okay, so we go into my health stat real quick. Let's go ahead and look at my my overall health real quick. So my maximum health is 316,000 that's so pretty much my overheal is half that amount. So I'm getting about an extra 150 health just from having that overshield, meaning that my toughness right now might seem that it's around 460,000, but honestly it's around the 600 margin because I've got so much extra health from the stamina amount. I'm gonna go ahead and give this guy the shot again. I'm still trying to get that combination, boys. But for the most part, you don't really need that. You don't really need to have that extra stamina. What you need to do with this build whenever you're running solo is pick and choose your fights. Whenever you've got that extra overheal, whenever you've got your what is called reclaimer, or what is called whenever you got your recovery link and you've got your extra life from Nomad, then you choose to fight. That's whenever you choose to kill people. That's whenever you choose to go rogue, or just jump in and try to kill rogues, because at that point in time you know for a fact you're not going to die. You're not going to die because they've got so much survivability. But like I said, you don't have the damage output, so you need the firearms. Okay, so let's get away from the justification of why you want to build it a certain way, because for the most part, I'm not explaining how to build it. So let's go ahead and get into the explanation of what you want to roll on your pieces of gear and why you want to roll those things. Like I said, you can go with firearms or stamina for your chest plate, or firearms or stamina for your knee pads. Honestly, you want to at least have 3 pieces of gear roll for firearms, and then have firearms mods. Right now, as you guys can see, I have health on kill on my chest plate plus health. I don't really need enemy armor damage here. I don't need exotic damage resilience. I don't really need any of that. So I feel like health on kill is pretty good, especially because, Nomad is kind of made around health on kill. And killing a person while down, you guys are going to see it later on at the end of the video, is actually something that could give you a burst amount of healing and really keep you in the fight a little bit longer. So for me, health on kill on the chest plate is kind of what you want to roll with. You'll see other places that I've just decided not to roll health on kill, but for the most part, that is going to be the first place you're going to roll it. Your mask, you're going to need more damage. The more damage you can get, the better you can be doing. I go for crit hit chance. Crit hit chance is really good, especially because our main choice of weapon is going to be our sub, not our AR. We're going to talk about the Warlord here in a bit, but right now we're going to be paying attention to what we have on our build. Crit chance, like I said, I have damage to elites for whenever I'm fighting NPCs. Like I said, you've got that health on kill, so if you're in the middle of a fight and you can turn around and kill an NPC real quick, you can turn around and fight and get back into the fight because you're sitting there with extra health, right? You're getting that health on kill. you can kill off an NPC, turn around with full health, and just kill the person that's been shooting it back. Or if you're, deciding to be the solo guy and wants to go around killing NPCs, this could be something that you use whenever somebody turns on you or somebody tries to gank you. Knee pads, health. It's quite obvious. The best thing you can roll on your knee pads is health. I had a really hard time on choosing between health or what is called crit hit damage, but I think the crit hit damage is really not necessary. There's a lot of other places you can get from it. Also, I feel like we're going to go ahead and lead off to the next portion of this. Like I said, you're going to want health on here. The stamina roll on this, again, it's either between your chest plate or your knee pads. You can choose one of those to be extra firearms, not. Just make sure you at least have 3 things roll for firearms and then have firearms mods, and then you can choose to have either 2 pieces of stamina or 1 piece of stamina with an extra firearms roll. But we're going to go ahead and roll on to the next portion where I was talking about extra crit damage and where you can get more places. There's more places in your build that you can get crit damage, and your backpack is one of those places. Really, NPC? Go away. Okay, so like I said, your backpack is really one of those places where you can get crit damage. Now the thing with me is, like I said beforehand, if I was able to roll for firearms, like if I wanted to take off firearms on my chest plate or my knee pads and roll out for, roll one of these stamina rolls for firearms and actually have that extra stamina, then, only then, will I roll my, what is called main stat on this from crit hit damage to health. Just because it would be nice to have that extra survivability. It's really nice. But like I said, I've got so much survivability as it is right now that I really don't need that extra health roll, and I felt like the crit damage would benefit me in some way or form. And of course, since I'm using a submachine gun as my main source of weapon damage, that I feel like crit damage is kind of there for a reason. So I feel like I used it. All the other pieces on this build, quite obvious. You're gonna always want ammo capacity there. There's no reason. My gloves. Now I have 2 gloves. It just depends. It depends on what you want to do. If you're doing the PvP section of the game, if you're trying to fight players, you're gonna want crit chance, crit damage, and submachine gun damage with firearms rolled here. Of course, because you want to be doing as much damage as you can, and this is the most beneficial you could be using. But if you're playing as a solo PvE guy running around in the dark zone, you're trying to farm things, then you're going to use the health on kill that you can get. Honestly, the crit chance there is because, it's easier to get crit damage than it is to get crit chance. But, like I said, if you're going to be going for damage, for the most part, you guys out there that want to watch my videos, you're more interested in watching a PvP guide. I can make PvE guide videos on how to make like a really, really good PvE build for, soloing or whatever. If you would like, just leave it in the comment section below. I would like to see that PvE build. But for the most part, I'm more focused on PvP, and this is what you're going to want. You're going to want crit chance, crit damage, and submachine gun damage. Honestly, it depends on what weapon type you want. If you're going to go for ARs, then go for it. But personally, I feel like there's so much crit chance value that you get from submachine guns that I personally feel like they're better than ARs. That's my personal opinion, guys. Just know that. So you can choose between subs or ARs, but personally, I think the subs are better than ARs in this patch. Holster, crit chance, you don't need that health. It's very microscopic. You guys are starting to see the pattern. There's one thing that I'm completely avoiding like the plague, and that's what is it called? That's skill haste and the skill power. Don't need it. I really don't need it. So crit chance is really good here. So there you guys go. There's my main pieces, things rolled on my pieces of gear. What am I using mod-wise? Firearms roll for health. Firearms roll for health. Firearms roll for health. First aid self-heal. Really not necessary. You can choose to go with that if you particularly like, but I feel like the extra additional health I can get from it, I will take. That's just my personal opinion. You can choose to go with pulse crit chance mods if you want, if you're going to be that type of person that rolls for crit chance and runs with a pulse, but that's your particular taste. I feel like when I run in a team scenario, at least we're going to have one person better than me that has more skill power running a pulse, so I don't really need it. But like I said, this is more solo build, so if you're going to run a pulse, then go for it. Run crit chance or crit damage mods for your for those if you would like. Weapons. Now, a lot of people are probably looking at me and shaking their heads right now, wondering why I'm using an AUG instead of like an MP5 ST or the house. I don't have the house for this build. I have a house on other builds. The house that I have doesn't fit into the category that I need for this particular build. It's just not what I want. and I wanted more damage. So we're gonna go ahead and get over the rule. We're gonna go over the rules real quick. Unforgiving is the best damage talent this patch around for me, just because most people are really, really tanky, and it's really easy to stay within the certain health segments without having to worry about those burst healing. So, you know, the more damage you're getting, the more you're going to be, you know, the more you can deal with. And the thing with Nomad is you can be really risky, and you know you're going to be rewarded with that output of damage that you're getting from Unforgiving. So that's really, really beneficial. Deadly, just because you need crit damage, the more damage you deal, the more things you're going to be dealing with. Responsive, quite obvious. Responsive is a damage talent that's multiplicative, and it's really worth using in PvP. Now the Warlord. What's the difference between a Warlord and our AUG here? Now, like I said, your AUG is going to be your main source of damage. This is the thing you're going to be using. But if you're using like a PvE situation, or you're going to be killing some NPCs, and you get a little bit of extra burst healing, or you know, you get the person down and you could swap to your like AR and then whack the guy while he's down, then the Warlord's actually pretty good. The Warlord has Sustained and Predatory on it. You kill a kill, you know, you get 6% extra health on kill. That's pretty good. And then you get the Predatory, you know, 20 seconds of 35% health regen. That's really, really good. And Play Rough is whenever you're like in a really dire situation and you need to get that extra damage resilience. This could be something really useful. You know, for instance, you get your health down, bam, and you die or whatever. You go down, and Nomad ends up proccing, and you get that extra what is it, 60% all. You take 60% less damage, and you use that with the Warlord, and you get like 80% all damage resilience. I don't even know if that works or not. I really want to test it out because they're two separate types of resistance, right? They're not the same in some sorts, but who knows? It could be useful. I feel like, honestly, like I said, the Warlord is very niche. It depends on what you want to use. I mainly use it as just a thing that I pop down, kill a guy, or, you know, I use my submachine gun down a guy, then I swap to my Warlord, kill the guy while he's down to get Sustained and Predatory, and then I use Play Rough if it's really, really necessary. If I'm, like, on a very dire situation, I really need to use something to give me a little bit of extra survivability, then I'll use Play Rough, but otherwise, I'm mainly using the AUG. Now, I want to go over why I'm using the AUG over like something like the MP5 ST or the Navy MP5, because, you know, for the most part, people would say that those are the better submachine guns. But because I'm not spec'd so much into firearms, and since certain weapons scale better with firearms, I feel like where I'm at within my build, the AUG is 100% better than the MP5 ST. And we're just going to go ahead and look at them real quick. So I have, let's see if I can do a comparison real quick. So let's see, let's find like our best one right here. This is our best one, right? We'll do a comparison. That's not the right one I want to do in comparison with. Why is it? Okay. Let's see if this helps out. Comparison. There we go. So as you guys are looking at the differences between the two, now for the most part, I think that if I had something different on the bottom instead of Fierce, that I probably would use this for. Like, you know, that might not be bad for PvP, but I feel like the extra amount of damage, and the thing is, my AUG isn't fully optimized. I could probably get an extra 1,000 extra damage out of this, you know? I could probably get an extra 1,000 extra damage. I could probably also get an extra 1,000 out of the MP5 ST, but the thing is that I'm only getting around 75% additional RPM from the MP5 ST, but I'm also getting around 3,000 extra damage from the AUG, and I feel like the 3,000 extra damage I'm getting from my AUG is more beneficial than the 7,000 extra, 75 extra RPM. That's just my personal take on it. But this time around, I'm gonna actually go back to the AUG because, you know, the AUG actually scales pretty good with the new, the new submachine gun damage percentages on the gloves. I feel like the AUG ended up getting a nice little buff this time around. But if I was scaled into more firearms, it'd be a completely different story. And the MP5 ST, you know, the Navy MP5 would be way better, or the MP5 ST would be way better. And like I said, if you're going to roll away one of these stamina pieces either on your knee pads or on your chest plate, then yes, take the MP5 ST over the AUG. It is going to be way better in the long suit. It'll last you a lot longer. Let's go ahead and go on to our, you know, our talents, so, you know, our talents and our skills. But for the most part, I talked about this in my last build for a Predator. Honestly, I don't think Pulse is useful within a solo setting anymore it could be beneficial if you're running that, like I said, crit chance on your performance mods. But I feel like the 15% additional damage you get and the 7.5% all damage resilience you get from booster shot is better for a damage output and for survivability output. Also, it provides you a little bit of healing, but it's not going to be your main source of healing. It really isn't. And look, if you think about it, look at the pulse. The pulse takes longer for it to come back than my booster shot. It's a few seconds, but I mean, those seconds could be the difference between life and death. So for me, I will take booster shot. But for your main source of healing, this is not going to be your main source of healing. It is going to be your med station. Why? Because it comes back faster. You guys can see it's almost cut off half the time that it takes, and it does heal way more. It heals better. It's like way better healing. It'll half heal you, and sometimes you can get a full overheal from it. So that's not bad. Recovery Link, you know, extra lives when you're playing solo is really beneficial. You could go with like Tactical Link or Survival Link when you're playing in a team session. You don't really need Recovery Link at that point in time unless you're planning on being the guy that has the fast fingers and wants to revive your teammates faster. Talents, as you can see, I have Adrenaline, I have Critical Save, and then I have Strike Back with On the Move. On the Move, more survivability. You know, Critical Save, more survivability. Strike Back because the extra cooldowns on your med station as well as your what is called, you know, booster shot is not that bad. It's always going to be useful. Adrenaline because if anybody's using Shock Turret, an EMP, you can pop a med kit and be immune for status effects for a few seconds. This does not. I would like to repeat. This does not work against Predator's Mark. People are rumoring this does work against Predator's Mark. It does not work against Predator's Mark. You can pop the med kit and people can shoot and apply that status effect right afterwards, and you're going to be sitting there like, why did my adrenaline not work? It's because Predator's Mark ignores immunity. People do not understand that it ignores immunity. It does not ignore the cleansing. You know, you can cleanse the status effect, but it will not keep you immune. Predator's Mark will ignore that. So just know that. For the most part, this is what I would run for talents wise. Other than that, I think that's everything, guys. I think we went over everything that you can possibly get out of this build. It was very long. I think this might be a little bit longer than the Predator's Mark video, maybe, because I've got a couple clips I would like to show you guys of me running around solo, and I think I might have one that has team scenario, but for the most part, it's kind of me just like pick and choosing my fights and knowing when I want to fight, and you guys are going to see how it rewards me in the end. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully you guys enjoy the clips at the end. See you guys next time.
Okay.
Warning. You've just founded a mission. This action will mark you as rogue.
One V2 the whole time.
Let me see. How many RPMs? How many RPMs are running? How many RPMs are running? Oh, there it is. Beautiful.
He was just running the regular 16 bit. Ain't gonna work.
I'm getting 6 pieces from KFC, bro.
Warning. An agent on your team requires aid immediately.
Yeah, get that smack down. I see you.
What? He tried to come over here because I was by myself?
I'm dead. I said I dead.